Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the show. Today we are going to discuss once again the Middle East situation as there are attacks and then counter attacks from Iranian and the American sides, and naturally the situation is not good enough. So I have a very prominent guest, Ambassador Munir Akram, who has been a Pakistan ambassador to the UN for a long time. Thank you very much, sir, for joining me. How you see the future of Middle East in the present circumstances?
Well, I think at the moment the situation looks quite dire. The ceasefire has broken down, and both sides have said they're not committed any longer to the MOU. Attacks are escalating from both sides. So it's a very tense and fragile situation. I think the war could spread across the region and could become much more destructive. And obviously, it's a situation that is gravely concerning for all the countries of the region, including Pakistan.
Naturally, both the parties, the warring parties might have calculated something. Iranians might have calculated. Similarly, the Americans. So do you think that it is in the favor of both the countries to move on with the present situation, attacking on each other?
Well, I think the ceasefire broke down because of a lack of a common understanding with regard to the Strait of Hormuz. The MOU's language, Article 5 of the MOU, the language was somewhat ambiguous. The Iran interpreted this as giving it full control over arrangements for the passage of commercial vessels in the strait. The U.S. Interpreted it differently, that Iran was only required to ensure the safety of the vessels and therefore opened the southern route. And Iran retaliated, attacking some vessels, and I think the U.S. responded, and it has gone on from there through a step-by-step escalation, and now it is at a stage where it seems that the war has once again started completely and is spreading across the region.
Can Iranians, the way that even today their spokesperson for the foreign ministry, Ismail Baqai, has said that the Iran has a total right on the Strait of Hormuz. Can they claim, continuously claim? Naturally, they have used it as a weapon, and it was a very effective one during, the first war, which started in Feb this year. And then once again, do you think that the Iranians are going to, have the same stance on the strait, which will create naturally a problem for the neighboring regional GCC countries as well?
Well, I think the Strait of Hormuz was open. It had free navigation in the past. Once Iran was attacked, then it came into a different situation because in order to exercise self-defense, it had a right to take all necessary measures, and one of the measures that it took was to close the Strait of Hormuz. But for the longer term, for the future, the Strait of Hormuz retains the status of an international waterway, international strait, and as such, no literal state has the right to actually block passage in conditions of peace. Those conditions of peace have not returned, but it's obvious that in the future, the administration of the strait will have to be done in a way that is compatible with international law, and the right or freedom of navigation. So it is a complicated issue now, and it has to be resolved through negotiations. And I think that the MOU's language was not sufficiently clear as to what are the rights of Iran and what are the rights of other countries with regard to the strait. And this issue will have to be addressed and resolved as part of a restoration of the peace process.
How you see it today? We have seen that the Houthi spokesperson has announced that they have blocked Bab Mandab, that's the Red Sea, passage for the Saudi Arabia, because recently we have seen that the Saudis have attacked their Sana'a airport, and then in retaliation they have attacked their Abahar airport. Do you think it is going to have some kind of, addition to the present uncertainty in Middle East?
Yes, definitely. I think uh, by closing the Strait of Hormuz, oil flows, about 20% of oil flows came from the through the Strait of Hormuz. Some of the flows were redirected into pipelines, including the Saudi pipeline, which goes to the Red Sea, and shipping was made from the Red Sea. And obviously, if the Strait of Bab el Mandab is also closed, it will affect a larger portion of the oil trade and therefore will increase the impact of the blockade of both Hormuz as well as Bab el Mandab. It will have a larger impact on the oil trade, on international trade, and therefore the impact on the international economy will escalate. And this is obviously the reason that the Houthis have now decided to block some shipping from Bab el Mandab. It will have a large impact on the global economy.
The Americans have started, they have attacked on their nuclear facilities in Iran, and then they have also attacked on their infrastructure, like bridges have been attacked, their water reservoirs, which is a lifeline, in fact, for the citizens, the Iranian citizens. It has been attacked. So, do you think, because the Iranians have been saying that if they are being attacked, they're going to retaliate, and naturally, the soft target would be these Arab countries, the regional countries. Uh, that will also add to the instability of the region.
Correct. Absolutely. I think attacks on civilian infrastructure, whether it is bridges, tunnels, roads, water facilities, and such, these are all prohibited under international law. Even in conditions of war, you cannot attack civilian infrastructure. So I think both the attacks by the US against Iranian infrastructure is illegal, and the Iranian attacks, if the Iranian attacks go in and attack oil facilities, water facilities, and other civilian infrastructure, that would also be contrary to international law, and therefore there has to be a call to halt such illegal attacks on civilian targets.
The Iranian Foreign Ministry also said that the diplomatic channels are open. Uh, do you see that there could be a possibility that the two countries naturally they would be engaged indirectly through the mediator, and Pakistan was one of the major mediator, rather a signatory on the MOU. Uh, there is a possibility that this present escalation could de-escalate through, a common friend like Qatar, like Pakistan, or any other country?
Yes, definitely. I'm sure that mediatory efforts by Pakistan and other countries are ongoing with both parties. But it seems that the logic of both parties now has become very hard line. From the Iranian side, as you know, there have been calls for revenge, calls for accountability for the killing of their leadership, particularly the supreme leader. On the American side, too, the rhetoric has become very harsh and very tough, with threats to escalate further and destroy Iran's infrastructure. Iran has also said it will attack the Arab countries. I think all these escalatory steps are hugely concerning. In order to restore the ceasefire, some understanding has to be reached. I think the most significant issue which has to be addressed and resolved is the issue of the Strait of Hormuz. I think Iran is claiming sovereign rights. I think that is incompatible with international law. On the other side, it is obvious that some kind of arrangement has to be made with Iran in order to allow the safe passage of commercial vessels. The Article 5 of the MOU sets out some outline for an agreement, and I think that has to be addressed, that has to be clarified, and a full understanding has to be reached on the issue of how the Strait of Hormuz will be administered. And I think that would be the key to stopping the current fighting and bringing back the political process which was envisaged in the MOU.
Where you see the Israelis, because naturally they must be very happy,
Oh,
as
yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
one of the international media analysts was saying that the only person who is smiling at the moment is the Israeli Prime Minister. And on the other side, the Israelis forces are continuously attacking on the remaining part of whatever is remained in the Gaza. They are destroying that as well. So, where you see the Israelis in the present situation?
Well, we all know Israel started this war. Israel persuaded the United States to come into this war. Israel was against the peace agreement, the MOU, which was signed. It opposed the MOU. The Israeli lobby in the United States has been very active in criticizing the MOU and has been calling for a more stronger stance by the United States. They seem to have fulfilled their wish because the United States now has taken a hard line. It's attacking Iran and in turn, Iran is attacking Arab states. The Israelis are sitting pretty. Their differences with the U.S. have subsided. So Israel is obviously very happy. And therefore, I think there has to be some clear thinking on the part of Iran as to the consequences of continuing this conflict, and I would say that it is important for them to understand that the consequences of continuing the fighting is not only is going to cause destruction in Iran, but destruction in the Arab states. It could widen the war, and the sole beneficiary of the continuation of this conflict is going to be Israel.
What is the situation of Donald Trump? Because naturally there is going to be a midterm elections, and there's a lot of pressure on Donald President Trump from Democrats, from the media, from the public as well. So, do you think that the Trump would like to continue and carry on this war for a longer period of time?
Yes, I think President Trump has to see the domestic situation. I believe that Trump accepted the ceasefire because he thought that the impact on the U.S. economy would be large if Hormuz continued to be closed. But I think there has been some rethinking in Washington, and they are now taking a tougher line. It seems that the Trump administration and the Republicans think that it is now better for them to take this tough line to continue attacks against Iran, and they feel that the closure of the Strait of Hormuz will not have that much of an impact on the U.S. economy. The U.S. economy still has shown great resilience. Growth has continued. Inflation is contained, and therefore there are some people in Washington who feel that even the closure of the Strait of Hormuz will not deeply affect the U.S., while it may affect the region. But now, of course, if Bab el Mandab is also closed, then the economic impact will increase, and perhaps there will be a recalculation as to what are the implications for the US economy, for the global economy. If both Hormuz and Bab el Mandab are shut down, it will increase the economic cost. So maybe there will be some recalculation. But at the moment, the US administration appears to feel that continuing the war, taking a hard line against Iran, is more beneficial for the administration in the midterm elections than go towards the peace agreement, which was criticized within the US by the Democrats, by hardline Republicans, by the Israeli lobby. And therefore, I think Mr. Trump's calculations about accepting the peace agreement or continuing the war, those calculations seem to have changed. And he is taking a much harder line. So we have to evaluate what the American situation, American position will be. But it's not the same that it was at the time of the signature of the MOU.
Since the Houthis and the Saudis are exchanging the fire, and naturally Pakistan has a defense pact with the Saudi Arabia, and there are reports that the Kuwait is also interested. So in that situation, because so far Pakistan kept a very good balance naturally between the Saudi Arabia or the GCC countries and Iranians, and Iranians have a lot of trust on the Pakistani leadership. Still, they do have, because openly they haven't said anything against Pakistan. So, where you see the position of Pakistan if this conflict spreads or it continues vis-a-vis Iran and the GCC countries, particularly Saudi Arabia?
Yes, we are now in a very difficult situation. Um, I think that it is urgent for us that the conflict should end and the peace process should begin once again. Because if it doesn't, I think one of the issues we have is with the Iranian retaliation, which is coming against the Arab states of the Gulf, which are not participants or not overtly participants. They have US bases, but now the Iranian strikes are not only affecting the bases, they're affecting also infrastructure and civilian targets in the Gulf states, and this is obviously unacceptable. And for Pakistan, because we have a defense pact with Saudi Arabia, but we also have political, economic, and defense relations with the other states of the Gulf, including Kuwait and Qatar and Bahrain and so on. So Pakistan is in a very difficult situation. I believe we have conveyed to the Iranians that their attacks on the Gulf states are misjudged, erroneous. I think this strategy of devastating the Gulf is not a good strategy for Iran for the future, because they have to live with their neighbors, and this destruction of their neighbors, which are not participants in the conflict, is not an acceptable way for Iran to respond. Therefore, Pakistan has always been honest with both Iran, the Gulf states, and the U.S., and we have conveyed. I think we have conveyed our position very clearly. We have commitments with Saudi Arabia and with other Gulf states, and Iran should be mindful of those concerns of Pakistan, and therefore I think for their own interest, as well as the interest of the region, I hope that Iran will recalculate its position and try to find a way to come back into the peace process.
Ambassador Munir Akram, thank you very much, sir, for joining. Thank you.